In real estate, it's so easy to get swept up in the day-to-day, the highs and the lows of the market. But what if you could swap all that feeling, that sentiment, for a rock-solid strategy? Well, inspired by some incredible insights from Mauricio Umansky, we're diving into a powerful new framework for success. Think of this as your playbook for building a business that's not just powerful, but predictable.
We've all had this feeling, right? You start the year with this amazing, ambitious plan, and then bam, the market does something completely unexpected. As Mauricio Umansky says, you end up reacting instead of leading. You feel like you're constantly playing defense, always on your back foot, instead of being the one driving the action. And this really lays out the two different ways you can operate. On one side, you've got strategy. That's all about deliberate planning, being proactive, and actually leading the market. And on the other side, that's sentiment. That's where you're just reacting emotionally, crossing your fingers and hoping for the best, and always following what everyone else is doing. This is the choice every single agent has to make.
Okay, so let's talk about the biggest pitfall first, the sentiment trap. This is where all those great New Year's resolutions and ambitious business plans, well, this is where they go to die. It's where market pressure and gut reactions just completely derail your good intentions. Here's the hard reality, the uncomfortable truth. Just hoping for a hot market isn't going to make one appear out of thin air, especially when transaction volume is lower. Look, optimism is great, but you can't build a real sustainable business on wishful thinking alone. The market responds to action, not hope. And this really gets to the core of the problem. We all know agents who are amazing with people, just incredibly talented, but their business is a roller coaster. Why? Because they're running on instinct, not intention. They're waiting to feel motivated, reacting to whatever the market throws at them, instead of building systems that create their own success. But here's the good news. There is another way. It's time to make a shift from being a reactor to being a realist. So welcome to the Realist's Playbook. This is all about thriving on precision and planning, not just market hype. This is the new path forward. The game is changing, for sure. Success in the coming year isn't going to belong to the loudest agent in the room or the one with the flashiest Instagram. No, it's going to belong to the realists, the agents who build their business on a solid foundation of strategy, not just noise. So that's the big question, isn't it? If being a realist is the answer, what does that actually look like day to day? What are the specific things they're doing and the mindsets they have that set them apart from everybody else who's just riding the wave? It really boils down to three critical pillars. First, you have to define your brand, not as a logo, but as a promise. Second, you've got to sharpen the skills that create real, undeniable value. And third, and this is the big one, you have to execute your plan with an almost boring level of discipline. Let's break each of these down. Okay, let's dive into that first pillar. Your brand is your promise. Now, brand is a word that gets thrown around a lot, but in today's market, it's got to be about so much more than a cool logo or a nice headshot. It's way deeper than that. At the end of the day, your brand isn't about how you look. It's about trust. It's the promise you make to every single client with your service and your advice, and most importantly, how consistently you keep that promise time and time again. So how do you build that brand promise? It comes down to a concept called radical personalization. And look, this is not about expensive gifts. It's about small, thoughtful, intentional actions. It's remembering the name of a client's dog. It's sending a quick text a month after closing to ask how their kid's college search is going. It's those little moments that show you are actually listening. And that's what makes a client feel seen and turns them into a raving fan for life. So, just to hammer this home, let's be super clear about what a brand is not. It is not just your logo. It's not a perfectly photoshopped headshot. And it is definitely not about who can shout the loudest on social media. The realists out there, they get it. They know that real brand power is quiet, it's consistent, and it's built on pure substance. All right, on to pillar number 2, scale beyond charm. Because let's be honest, a great personality will get you in the door, but it won't build an empire. This is where skill has to meet ambition. Let's get into the hard skills you need to actually grow. This is a tough pill to swallow for a lot of agents, but it's the truth. You can be the most charming, likable person in the world, but if you don't have the skills to back it up, you are going to hit a ceiling. To really, truly scale a business, your professional skills have to rise up and meet the level of your goals.
So what kind of skills are we talking about here? We're talking about mastering negotiation in a way that truly empowers your clients. It's becoming a legit market analyst who can cut through the noise and bring clarity with data. It's using technology strategically, not just for the sake of it. And this is a huge one. It's knowing your numbers, your conversion rates, your profit margins, the whole shebang. This is how you become irreplaceable. And here's a critical part of that whole skill equation, knowing you can't do it all yourself. It's just not possible. The smartest realists don't even try to be experts at everything. They build a team. They surround themselves with people who fill in their weak spots and complement their strengths. That right there is how you achieve real strategic growth. Okay, this brings us to our third and final pillar. And honestly, this is the one where most people fall off. This is the discipline of results. This is where the rubber meets the road. It's the uncomfortable truth that separates the dreamers from the absolute top producers. Just look at the difference here. A vague goal is saying, I want to grow my business. A precision goal is saying, I will close 24 transactions this year with an average commission of $150,000. See the difference? One is a wish, the other is a target you can actually build a plan around. Let's just focus on that number for a second. 24. A number like that is so powerful. It's not some abstract dream anymore. It's a measurable objective. It becomes your North Star. And it forces you to work backwards and figure out exactly how to get there. Because specific targets, they're the only thing that produce specific results. So how in the world do you hit 24 deals? You don't just hope for it, you build a machine. You take that big annual target and you break it down into quarterly milestones. Then you break that down into monthly benchmarks. And then all the way down to the specific non-negotiable actions you have to take every single week. This turns a massive goal into a simple, manageable process. And let's be real, this stuff is not glamorous. Making spreadsheets and tracking your calls isn't sexy. It's not going to go viral. But you know what it will do? It will produce results. Period. This quiet, consistent work is the engine that drives a predictable, powerful business. So when you boil it all down, it's a choice between two identities. Are you the reactor, the one who operates on hope, who gets tossed around by the waves of the market, who's always reacting? Or are you the realist, the one executing a plan, anticipating the market's moves, and actually creating the circumstances for your own success? And that leaves us with one last question for you to think about. When you look back at the end of this year, is your story going to be about what happened to you? A story of luck and good timing? Or is it going to be a story about what you made happen because of the plan you built and the discipline you had to execute it? The choice is 100% yours.